The Sound of Niagara podcast. I am welcoming back Tony O. And we're going to talk about the city of Buffalo. It's one of our favorite subjects when we get together. Talk about the city of Buffalo. And we're going to talk about maybe the changing circumstances in the Western New York and upstate politics with the downfall of Elise Stefanik, potentially. We'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about the trend in America towards autocracy. Or at least that's how I see it. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing really great. And, you know, Nate, a lot of people are looking for business opportunities today.
Yeah.
You see these little ads and they say, oh, you could earn $3,000 a week.
Sure.
You could make $100,000 from your home,
Yep.
Doing what's what. So I'm just looking at the Wall Street Journal, and on Fridays they have my favorite section because it just removes me from the insanity of day-to-day what's going on. And it's called the mansion section. So they have all these, crazy, exotic homes, and you just sort of break away and say, well, what is it? How do the other half live? So today I'm just going to tell you, how do you afford a house? This is the most expensive house that will be out for sale in the United States of America.
Okay.
It is Aspen, Colorado. It is on the market for $300 million. $300 million.
What is the house?
Okay? Well, it's just 18,500 square foot. And they said, the views and all that are great. However, what I want to focus on here, Nate, is like, how do you get the money to be able to sell a house for $300 million? So these people their name is Linda and Stuart Resnick. Okay.
All right.
And they're worth, I don't know, something like $18 billion. Big money. So the important lesson for people today, and it's sort of what I call the Seinfeld of capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. Seinfeld was about nothing. Okay. How do you accumulate $18 million? Well, it's really about nothing. So here's what they have. You've seen commercials. Their company's called The Wonderful Company, and it has brands like Wonderful Pomegranate Juice. Okay, it's got Fiji water, Wonderful Halos mandarins.
I like those two first. I like Fiji water. I like Palm. Those are good. Keep going.
So if you can just think of a water and just look at pomegranates and say, what's with that? And then you create drinks out of that, and you market it well. Well, guess what? You too could be worth $18 billion and be selling your house because you're now age 88, and you want to put it on the market because you've enjoyed it for $300 million.
And you can't take it with you. So how do they get into these brands? Where do they come from?
I tell you, if I knew that, I would not be talking to you now.
You'd be buying a house in Aspen?
I would be buying that house.
So this is my take. I heard Bill Burr, the comedian, say this week, and this has kind of always been my take, but he's articulated it better than I did. He's like, I don't care if you're a billionaire, but if you're a billionaire and your employees can't afford health care or can't pay the rent or go on vacation, maybe you ain't paying them enough. So This is my take. If we live in a society where so many people are paycheck to paycheck or just absolutely living in desperation, how do you justify being a billionaire? That's my take. Like, I don't care if you're a billionaire, but you're not sharing enough for anyone else to be even solvent.
So what would my take be on that? Well,
so because the right wing take is like, you hate rich, you hate the billionaires. No, I don't. But if you're running Fiji water, how much does your average employee make? Do they have health insurance? Can they afford the health insurance? Where does the Fiji water come from? I assume it comes from Fiji, and I think it has silica in it, which is supposed to be very good for you, I guess they say. But are you giving back to Fiji for extracting this water? I mean, these are the things, like, you may have all this money, but is the money deserved? Are you sharing the profits? Because during the Russian Revolution, God forbid I talk about it, their rallying cry is the people building the palaces should be living in them. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but if you're doing the labor, maybe you should have some of the benefit from that labor.
Well, I just happened to be yesterday. I was lonely, and I get these bouts of loneliness.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I went down to the marina and it was really lonely because there was
Wait, whoa, whoa, okay.
nothing
The
going
Buffalo
on there.
Marina.
I don't know. It was like the neutron bomb hit. All the people were gone, but all the boats were left. And so I then went on Seneca Street and I went into Jimmy Sardino's auto museum.
Oh boy.
Okay.
The Pierce
Yeah, the
Arrow.
Pierce
That's
Arrow.
kind of a cool place.
It's very cool. And
Yeah.
if you haven't gone down to see it, I really recommend that
Yes.
that you go down to see it.
Worth the trip, I would say.
Yeah,
Well, who the heck
yeah.
is Jimmy Sardino?
Well, he's the owner, and he's got like 20% of his collections
I
there,
got it.
and then 80% he's got it in warehouses all over the area. And
So let me pause you.
uh,
This place is a tribute to Buffalo car history, because once upon a time there was literally hundreds of car manufacturers, including parts manufacturers across Buffalo, and the most notable was the Pierce Arrow, which created these incredible, like better than Rolls-Royce cars with Jaguar skin seats and gold and ivory. These incredible, outrageous things. And also in this museum is a replica of the Frank Lloyd Wright gas station that they bought the blueprints to. Let me say one more thing. When I was working, I thought that was a brilliant idea by Jimmy, whoever he is. Brilliant idea to rebuild that. It's gorgeous. But it's one of the coolest things in Buffalo, actually. I told the company I was working for, I said, you should buy the rights to the Frank Lloyd Wright office building that's been destroyed in Buffalo and rebuild at least the facade, because then it would become like a global iconic thing. But they did not have the vision for it. They laughed me out of the room. But anyway, so you went to the Pierce Arrow Museum, and keep going. I love where this is going. Keep going.
yeah, so I went down there, and there are a lot of things you didn't know. So, as an example, at the turn of the prior century, 1906, 1912, something like that, they were manufacturing electric vehicles in Buffalo. They had a number of companies that were
Wow.
manufacturing electric vehicles.
Wow.
The first golf cart, now it didn't look like the golf carts today, was manufactured in Buffalo.
Pretty cool.
Anyone who was anyone, wanted one of these Pierce Arrows. So Babe Ruth says, "I want you to build me a car, custom designed, right? And I want the seats to be Yankee pinstripes."
Cool,
Okay,
Zach.
I mean this is how customized the things were. And like you said, there were a lot of manufacturers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the cars, I think I went on my BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, CPI calculators, and it didn't go back to 1909, but it went back to 1913. And so I calculated they had one of these Thomas runners. It won the race around the world. It went from
Oh yeah.
Buffalo to San Francisco. Then it went to Siberia. It went to Paris, and that car won it. And it was a Thomas Flyer, and it was actually made in Buffalo. Back then, I think the cost was 9,500, and when I just applied the inflation calculator to it, it would sell for $166,500 today.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, these things were
And
they
essentially, because Pierce Arrow was so closely tied to Buffalo's fortunes, when our fortunes declined, the company declined. But also, I think it was the Great Depression that killed Pierce
well,
Arrow.
that's the killer.
Yeah.
The Great Depression hit, and it put a lot of these things out of business. But the point I'm going to, which my talent is being circuitous, is Henry Ford. Henry Ford, there were a lot of things not to like about Henry Ford. However, one of the things to like about him was that he said, and again, when that car was like 95, I said it was, I think, $9,500.
Yeah.
Fords were selling for $400,
Right.
$450.
Right.
He wanted to pay his workers $5 a day, in order for them to be able to afford to buy the vehicles which they were manufacturing. And they also went to, I think it was a 5 or 6 day a week work week. And they also went to a 40-hour a week work week. Now, obviously, they all do overtime, for extra money. But bottom line is, this was, one of these sort of robber barons, who had the foresight to say that unless all of us are doing better, none of us are really going to do well. And I wish we had more of that
Well,
today.
I want to tell everybody, this is not Marxist thinking per se. This is just standard economics. The problem is, if you don't pay your people well and you continue to concentrate wealth, it leads to inflation and economic collapse. So it's essential. It's like anything else. If you don't properly maintain the garden will die. And you can see what's happening in the world where inflation is not a problem just with the United States. It's a global problem because things are getting more and more expensive. Less and less people can buy those things. And we are flirting with economic collapse. Now, people say, well, no, we're not. You're right. We might stumble along here like we've been stumbling along for 20, 30 years, arguably. But it's becoming, I believe, the essential reason why MAGA is so powerful and why this movement has been so relevant is because it makes people feel relevant. And these people have had nothing. And if you think they have, this is not consistent for there's people like J.D. Vance and these other people, Peter Thiel, who just want more power. But if you go to these rallies, if you go to these Tea Party rallies, these guys are desperate people. I mean,
I understand that, but that's why, Nate, we have the saying, which has been around for years and years and years, which is you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
yeah, I wish I could explain this to these guys, but they don't want to hear it.
I mean, and let me just give you a couple of examples.
Sure.
One is the genius, Butlick, Howard, our Commerce Secretary, Howard
Yeah.
Lutnick. And, Trump is doing a shakedown. It's an extortion racket, really, going to our corporations
It's
and telling
crazy.
them, AMD and NVIDIA, telling them that I want a 15% scrape. Because this is what mobsters do. I want a 15% scrape of everything you're selling to China. Okay. Now Lutnick comes out
Scary.
and he says, and this is sort of an H20 chip that they have. And they negotiated this deal, and Trump says, "All right, well, I'll let China have the chips, but these companies are going to have to pay me 15% of whatever you sell to China." Lutnick then comes out, and what he says is, "Don't worry about it, okay? Because we're not giving them the A chip, the B chip, the C chip. We're giving them the D chip." And the Chinese said, "Really? Well, the hell with you. We don't need your stuff. We're going to really try not to buy any of it. And we're going to be really focusing on our domestic chip industry because you've insulted us."
So the argument here is, the argument here from their side, our side, the United States, is like, well, even Bernie Sanders was all for this. He was like, hey, these domestic companies are screwing us over. We should take a part of it. This is where he and I part ways. I don't think the government should be in the business of managing private organizations and taking them over. I think we should have a system that requires them to pay their fair share. I don't want to be China with state-owned enterprises. I don't want that. Now,
But do you understand what a slippery slope it is?
yeah,
When government starts, listen,
but I think they
ca-
literally said, before you go into this, they literally said to themselves, like Vance said this week, there is no difference between the private and the public sector. I think they've literally made the calculation. Oh, the Chinese model is better. Totalitarian,
no, well,
central
this is where,
leadership, control. Go ahead, I'm listening.
yeah, no, JD is just a confused man. Capitalism relies on markets for the most efficient allocation of capital or money. Communism is looking at central planning and having the government decide where the best allocation of capital is. And, I have to say, you know, you look at China, which is a powerhouse. There's no question about it. But you look at the United States, and so much of the innovation is from the United States. Why? Because we are really good at having our capitalistic system allocate capital to some of the most dynamic areas out there. And when government starts to get involved, and say, well, I
See,
think you should do
I
this or
agree.
that, right? And by the way, I have these political motivations, right? So I want you to put jobs over here or there or somewhere else because that's going to be good for me or good for my Congress or
So
whatever else.
the
That's a
argument
nightmare.
the argument from the JD Vances of the world would be like, well, it's worked in China, but has it? I mean, massive pollution. You have cities that are like ghost cities that there's one in particular, Xi Jinping made this ghost city. He had this dream of a perfect utopian city. There's this giant city in the middle of China that no one lives in. There's these kind of freakish things that happen in China like that all the time. And the Chinese economy is not stable. Now, maybe they have certain strategic advantages because there is some idea in China, at least, that the government has to, have the back of the country. Where, our government for a long time was just like, well, yeah, the free enterprise can screw over the people of this country as much as they want. And I don't think that works either. But to say that the Chinese model is the one we should be, they're not saying this, but their actions indicate that's where they want to go. A centralized control of the government, autocratic leadership, centralized state control, a surveillance state with state-owned enterprises. And one more thing, I've been saying this for about a year now. It's pretty clear that Trump doesn't care about Ukraine. He thinks that's the gray area that Russia should control. He's not going to stop China from taking Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. He is going to try to expand to Canada and Greenland if he's alive. And maybe his predecessors will also do the same. And if he gets rid of these elections, which is what they want to do, I really worry about the future of our country and our world as we've known it. It seems like we fell into the 19th century. It seems like the whole world, our country included, has jumped back to the 19th century. Suddenly, everybody hates foreigners. Go ahead, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is hope, though. The reason
hope?
we have 2 Democratic senators from the state of Georgia is because Trump told his people the election was rigged. Don't bother showing up to vote. And they didn't show up to vote.
Right.
And they ended up getting 2 Democratic senators. They had that. Next, he claims to be a fan of the military, and he's got his tight-suited defense secretary up there, saying this is who we represent. But you know what? We have, I think, close to 2 million people in the, serving in the military globally, and they all can't come home to vote. Can't do that. That's why we have mail-in votes for them. So are you then saying that if I want to abolish all mail-in voting, that what I'm doing is disenfranchising every service member who is serving us and has a right to vote in their elections and obviously cannot do that?
I don't know why he's so against mail-in votes. I think it's go ahead.
And in Republican states, Nate, I will just tell you, you look at Wyoming, where they're having the feds having their big confab right now. You look at it, and it's got what 500,000 people in a lot of land. They have mail-in voting. In Phoenix, I think in Arizona is the most heavily used state of mail-in voting because it's just so darn convenient for them. We all have systems to be able to handle this. It's called a barcode.
Listen. I get off on this tangent every time we talk about this because I experienced it firsthand. I do not think the elections are as secure as the Democrats say. And if you go back 10 years ago, the Democrats said they were the ones worried about safety of elections. Trump did not win the election. He obviously lost the 2020 election. There is no evidence. He never presented any evidence whatsoever. But I am generally, and I know this is not a off-the-shelf opinion for someone who's on the left, I would like us to have safer elections. And I think that we need to look at it because whether people want to like this or hear this or believe this in this moment or not, I saw how it works. And there's no doubt election commissioners can put their thumb on the scale.
Well,
there is.
I can tell
there's
you.
Millions of votes. There's thousands of votes that come in from mail-in ballots. Someone has to make the call, just like laws, like speeding tickets or anything else. Did it come in on time? Is it bent properly? Is it filled in properly? Right. And when you're talking about close elections, this is what I'm talking about. This is where you can put your thumb. And if you have like all these controlled state legislatures or Republican state legislatures, you can put your whole foot on the scale. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Or you could have the president call and say, look, fellas, I'm just looking for
Right.
8,850, which is one more vote than we need to win the state because I know I won the state. It's just, you just have to find these votes.
And that's the call we know about.
Exactly.
What calls in other places, people said, yeah, we'll find the votes for you. I say this because I experienced it. I'd go in the room and I'm like, wait, you're throwing away all those votes? Like, yeah. Who decided? A bipartisan commission. You and your buddy? You know what I mean? Jeremy Zellner and your buddy. And let me read this to you real quick. This is the checklist for autocracy. I made this. Let's just go through. You say check or no check. Number one, delegitimize elections. Claim elections are fraudulent or meaningless. Example, Belarus 2020. Lukashenko declared victory despite clear fraud. Mass protests followed. Zimbabwe, Mugabe's government routinely manipulated election results. Okay? Check or no check? We're down that road. We can say check. Trump is obviously...
I think check.
Expand executive power. 2, bypass legislators, rule by decree, and invoke emergencies. Example, Hitler in 1933, enabling act gave him unchecked power after the Reichstag fire. Erdogan in Turkey, after the failed 2016 coup, ruled through emergency decrees for over 2 years. Okay? Check or no?
That's a check, and I think we're getting that as we speak.
Crush independent institutions, purge courts, civil services, and watchdog agencies. Examples, Poland, ruling party, restructured the judiciary to remove dissenting judges. Turkey, thousands of judges and prosecutors dismissed after 2016. Are we there?
Anyone who doesn't agree with me is a left-wing radical judge.
Right.
And should be bounced.
Attack in the free press, demonize, censor, or take over media. Russia, independent outlets branded foreign agents, reporters jailed. Hungary, Orban's allies took control of most major newsrooms. Are we there? Not quite, I would say.
I want to kill public broadcasting.
Yes, he's done that.
I want to put in right-wing sycophant journalists in the Oval Office to ask embarrassing questions of other people because they're not what's what. I also want to decide anyone who I feel was disrespectful or did not or asked an embarrassing question out of the White House press pool.
So we're a check on this then.
Yeah, and by the way, you want to call it the Gulf of Mexico instead of the Gulf of America?
You're not allowed in.
I'm knocking the AP out. You can't even come in here and ask questions because you didn't kowtow to what I wanted to say.
I made 10 of these, and I have examples for each one. So I'm going to get number 5, scapegoat minority groups. Blame outsiders for economic or social decline. Nazi Germany, Jews scapegoated for national collapse. Myanmar, they persecuted the Rohingya, and they were driven from their villages.
We are being invaded by criminals, mental institutions, rapists, and I assume there may be a few good people, but they're all coming in. They're being demonized. They're demonizing our cities. They were saying that they're a hellhole. They're horrid. What's what? I mean, this is the most remarkable thing is that you've got a president of the United States running down the United States more than any other foreign power or potentate has. And this is your leader.
So no, that's a check then. Number 6, militarize the police. Shift policing from civilian protection to regime protection. Examples, Hong Kong, police use blue-dyed water cannons, beanbag rounds, and tear gas. Chile, 2019, police blinded hundreds of protesters with rubber-coated steel bullets. I mean, obviously, the police are being militarized. We have guys in camouflage walking the streets of D.C. as we speak.
Well, what I can tell you is, with this big, beautiful bill that was passed, the money that ICE is getting is more than most countries are spending on their military. And really what we're doing is, with our $50,000 signing bonuses and really a low bar to be able to get in to do that, what we're doing is we're creating a national police force under the guise of immigration control, but it's a national police force.
So people should be afraid of that. The police is from civilian protection to regime protection. So number, where are we at here? 7, suppress civil society, restrict churches, universities, NGOs, restrict unions. Putin, NGOs forced to register as foreign agents. Egypt, under Sisi, student protest crushed with mass arrest. Yeah, well, obviously he's suing universities.
I'm shaking down universities. I am threatening companies. Just today, we had him say, well, I think actually we're going to start going after sectors of the economy like furniture. Number of the furniture companies, the stocks have tanked today, just because of the threat of that. You look at John Bolton today, FBI decides, and he was a former national security advisor of the United States. Okay, top security clearances. FBI comes, they raid his office, they raid his house, and say, let's see if we can find something, because this guy's on all the news feeds talking about what a corrupt
Yep.
guy I am as
Yep.
president, and I don't like hearing that. So why don't I use the power of government to go after him and see if I can squash him, to squash any dissent, whether it comes from the media or from any former members of his cabinet. And so what happens is when you control all organs of government and you make them, and you're saying, well, our museums and institutions should reflect the president's viewpoint rather than
Right.
history. It's shocking, and that's
It's
happening today.
control the flow of information, monitor, censor, and dominate online space. Example, China's firewall, Iran regular shuts down internet access. Listen, we have his major buddy, they have a little bit of a, spat here or there, controls the biggest online media source, Twitter. I'm banned. I mean, I think we're going down that way. Rig or eliminate elections, remove opposition leaders, outlaw parties, or hold sham votes. I think we're heading that way very soon.
Well, again, with Texas, we're saying, look, I want to rig this so I can't lose my House majority, because God forbid, if I have any opposition, I'm done. I'm done.
Well, here's the last step that I'm most afraid of. Normalize violence as politics. Convince the public that brutality is necessary. We're close. When I see women in the streets and people are online mocking these women as they cry, I see children in America with guns put to their head because they're so-called illegals.
Well, we're caging, supposed illegals down in the alligator Alcatraz. And by the way, although it's in Florida, it is a federal program, and the law says, and if you're going to put up any federal structures like that, you have to have environmental studies done. And it's like, well, we're not going to bother doing that, because really what we want to do is to create a sense of terror in people.
Yes.
And, the court has just thrown that out.
Well, right now in Niagara County, allegedly, the sheriff is putting people that are captured by ICE in our local prisons.
Right.
I mean, that's also, so they want to normalize violence that, in Pinochet's Chile, disappearances, we're having disappearances here, and torture were normalized as necessary security measures. Myanmar, they fired live sniper rounds at peaceful protests. They're going that way now. This is the core pattern. Autocracy takes root when police evolve into a domestic army. Everyday crowd control gear escalates into weapons of war, and citizens begin to fear the very people who are supposed to protect them. I think that's the last step. I think we're well on our way, and I don't know how long, this is not being hyperbolic. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this podcast. I mean, I think the country is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look at Pete Hegseth today. You've got National Guard troops. They're not trained in policing, Nate. They're trained in being able to kill people, right? I mean, That's what we have the military for. What he just said today is it's okay for you to be using live ammunition. It's okay for you to be armed. By the way, they're not going into some of the most crime-ridden corners of DC, but they're going just for show around monuments and in areas that are relatively safe. Now, Maureen Dowd from the New York Times, did a very trenchant editorial last week about her sister who was carjacked, and how in DC, police weren't able to do anything about it. They finally found the car, weren't able to go after anyone, and it sounded rather ineffectual. And I'm not saying that there isn't crime. There are people who are afraid to go out in certain areas or at certain hours of the night. However, Congress and the president just signed this big, beautiful bill, which took $1 billion away from DC, which they could have used to hire more cops.
Jeez.
Or to increase the training of the cops that they've got. Putting soldiers out isn't what they need. They probably need more police, more policing. So if I'm a Democrat,
I keep
if
saying
I'm a
this.
Democrat, instead of defund the police, I would say refund the police.
We'll refund the DC police, but when you're talking about listen, again, I said this to you before. Years ago, Howard Stern, who seems like he's going to be canceled himself, Howard Stern was talking about Don Imus, and Don Imus had this scandal. He said something awful about a basketball player,
Right.
and he spent a week or a month or something trying to apologize to people, going around saying, "I'm so sorry I said this." And whether this is the right approach or not, from a moral perspective, from an ethical perspective, it probably is not the right approach. But from a effectiveness and communications perspective, I think it is the right approach. What he said is, Stern said that Imus is an amateur. And what the right response is, F you. You're not going to tell me what, I'm not going to sit here and, no matter, because Stern's take is, no matter what you say, people are not going to accept your apology. So you have to move on from it. Now, I think there is some truth to that. And why do I say that? Because the Democrats are constantly apologizing. Oh, we said defund the police. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I can't believe we said. What's wrong with it when we have the ICE is more funded than most militaries? Like, how far are we going to fund the police? Do you know what I looked up? The city of Niagara Falls, right? City of Niagara Falls. Okay, I'm not saying get rid of police, but maybe we should talk about this more. The city of Niagara Falls has one of the worst crime statistics in the entire state. It's terrible. If you look up their budget, they receive about $20 million a year from the casino. Their total budget's about $100 million for the city. Of that, approximately 50% is for police and fire. So maybe we should be talking about the effectiveness of this funding. Where is the money going if you have 30,000 people and you have the worst crime statistics in the entire state, and we're paying endless budgets? And I know, as a small town leader, do you know why I was able to keep the budget in Grand Island? Because I refused to fund the police. I refused to make them a full-time police force. And
Well, you could do that because you had the state police or you had the county sheriffs.
Yes, but every town across the region has the same thing. The city of Depew, all these little towns, they all have their own police forces that bankrupt them because they have to give extra money for all these people and pensions, and you have this civil. My point is, we have been conditioned to say anything about the police is political destruction. You can't say it, and we have accepted that conditioning. But I think these are civil servants, they're public servants, they deserve criticism just like everybody else. And because the Democrats refuse to do that, now we're in a position where we have to bow to the police.
Well, I tell you, we've had this big snafu with Granville, who was a narcotics detective or chief, and he allegedly was, hit 7 cars, in a county vehicle, I believe it was. And the Buffalo police investigated, and it was sort of an alleged cover-up where nothing came out for over a year, and now we're finally seeing what happened.
Who is he?
And it's like, well, nothing's happened, and it just seems to stink because there appears to be collusion between police agencies in order to protect themselves. I'm not saying they don't have a difficult job, and I'm not saying they don't deserve our respect. However, what's right is right. And if someone is breaking the law and is getting away with stuff we as civilians could not get away with, I just think letting this guy skate, it just creates a sense of, I don't know, what would you say? It just creates a sense of disillusionment.
What do you think about when the
among
police
public.
knock over a 70-year-old man in the streets and break his head open, and no one in power is willing to call out the police?
Well,
happened here.
I've had friends who were cops, and they were smart people, and their talent was to de-escalate. Not to say that because I can push you around to do what's what. The smartest people are the ones who can get out without firing a weapon or inciting violence. Those are the great cops.
I feel I have to add this, not because it's truth. We've all benefited from police and fire. When you have an emergency in your house or something going on,
Sure.
God bless them, right? I remember most of my dealings, especially with the first responders where I live, are fantastic. Have been fantastic. I'm just saying, when you have police in your streets everywhere. I can't. It doesn't seem like I can drive anywhere without seeing 5 cops. And then we have some of the worst crime statistics in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, anywhere in the country. They're terrible.
Well, here's what I would say. I would say this, and I think it's incumbent upon the public who are sleepwalking in many ways and do not demand more from their government. Now, I don't mean more benefits. I don't mean more bread and circuses. I'm saying they should demand more accountability. They should demand more for their tax dollars. I don't think they're getting it locally.
I can tell you as a local supervisor, no matter what I did, it wasn't enough for if you gave them an emergency vehicle, they wanted 2. If you gave them long guns, they wanted machine guns. I mean, it was never ending.
No, I understand that about the agencies. I'm talking about the public demanding more safety from their government in Niagara Falls. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think the answer, frankly, is more cops. This is the real problem. We have to invest in people. You can't police. The reason why we have crime in Niagara Falls is because you have abject poverty everywhere. And so you could put police in every corner. I guess the answer maybe is we're all going to be police. That's the answer. We're all going to police each other. Is that the future? Okay, let's switch topic for a second because we've been 36 minutes into this. I want to say this to you. I really like the discussion we had off air. I want to go to that. So you went to this thing downtown. There's the Outer Harbor. Is that what it is?
Right. No, it was just the marina.
Oh, the marina. So
right, the marina.
I don't know the difference. The marina is right
further out. That would
okay. So the marina is where they have that stone tower.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool looking.
Yeah,
and then you have those.
It's like they have those in prison, when they
that's what it looks like.
Looking out,
but I like
the long guns.
It looks like brutalist architecture.
And then they have the little lighthouse right down there.
I guess, and then they have it's like a false wall to hold back Lake Erie. And then you have some high end. I think that housing is actually expensive there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who's living there?
Waterfront Village, down
there. Who's living there though? I don't know. I don't know. I know we're not living there.
I
think the governor lives there. I'm pretty sure. I think she has a house there. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So you have these high end houses looking over Lake Erie.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing there. Honestly, you hear the.
We have the obsolete grain mills, which could be demolished.
I hope they do. I think they're iconic. But go ahead.
I know you do, but you know what? I think that's a very. I sound like Trump in Gaza. It's a very valuable piece of waterfront property, and it's not generating any tax revenue. It's not bringing any people down there. It's an extremely valuable piece of property.
What would you put there?
The Skyway.
The Skyway's got to go.
Was irrelevant from the time the darn thing was built. I think it was in 1955.
Skyway
and the Welland Canal.
Skyway is dangerous. What was the Skyway for? I don't even get it.
Well, it was supposed to be, they were supposed to be bringing in, these big freighters and things like that, and they needed to have it high up.
Oh my gosh!
But then they opened Canada opened the Welland Canal.
Oh my gosh! Is that what that's for? They put it that it's up high to get over, so freighters can go underneath it. Is that what that was?
Yeah,
for?
Yeah. Why do you think?
I actually didn't know. It just seemed like a completely nonsensical road. A road to the sky.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous, and you can't, in the winter when you got these storms,
they close it.
Close it, right? So really, and again, Buffalo, like we were discussing, we have that ugly Baker Truss over the Peace Bridge. The late,
what is that?
Great,
the Baker Truss. What is that?
New York United States Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, I remember said, "I can get you the money. Tear that ugly thing down."
So someone you and I both know personally and like. I don't want to mention him by name.
We will not mention names.
I've yelled at him about this. I didn't know this until recently. He led the movement to stop the building of a signature bridge because he said it was unnecessary for Buffalo and was going to pollute the region. I mean,
and this is really
give me a baseball bat, hit myself over the head with it. Like, listen, like you build it so you can create yourself a domestic corridor of traffic. Now they're building the Gordie Howe Bridge over in Detroit. Canada's
Yep.
building it. There's a
Yep.
massive like. What are our strategic advantages? One of our strategic advantages is that we are in the proximity to another country, and we have an international border. Maybe we should build off that.
Let me tell you something. I go to Europe. When I go to Europe, I see these cable stay bridges, and they're not necessarily in, in the most metropolitan areas. And so as a foreigner, I look at those cable stay bridges and I say, you know what? There must be something progressive going on there because that's a beautiful piece of architecture.
I've driven from Denmark to Sweden on a massive bridge over the ocean with windmills around us, and I was like, what are we doing in Buffalo?
Nada.
Go
I
ahead.
tell you what, they should rename Buffalo.
To what?
They should just call it no, not K-N-O-W, but N-O. No.
So
We want to do a new bridge, beautiful bridge. It's going to be
So-
a gateway to another country. It's going to say this is a progressive area. And it's no, I think a little bird who could get hurt is more important, who doesn't vote, by the way, is more important than the image.
So I wasn't here when this was going on, but the counter argument was that the bridge didn't have enough traffic as it is, so it was superfluous, and we already had a signature bridge, which was the Peace Bridge. But the reason
No, the Peace Bridge is not a signature bridge.
it's
You want to
pretty.
get
It's
rid of
pretty.
that. What?
I think it's pretty. I mean, you don't want. They didn't want to get rid of that.
It's stupid that the box on top of it is ugly. Ugh.
I don't know. Listen, my point is, if you don't create the infrastructure, of course you're not going to have the flow of traffic. There's no reason to come here because the Peace Bridge is an old-fashioned bridge.
Yes.
Like it's and we know the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls is probably the second most busy bridge on the Canadian border. So we do have traffic that comes here. The numbers are actually super significant. The problem is they don't go through Buffalo anymore. They go in other directions because we never built a world-class modern bridge.
There you go.
So like I think it's idiotic, but that's an old story at this point. That bridge is closed. But what about, I mean, you're talking about Smith Boy Marina, and they pay $1 in rent a year. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, no, they pay $1 a year of rent to the city. There are no restaurants or anything down there to run the marina. An audit, and this I think was in the Buffalo News, said over the past 10 years, they took in $10 million, averaging $1 million a year in revenue. And the city's getting $1 out of it. That sounds like a great negotiating stance. Now, either you're saying that it's impossible for the city to get any return on that location, and therefore they just have to give it to someone else, or we've got to have the worst negotiators in the world.
I don't think they care because I don't think there's anybody watching any of this stuff. They're more busy. They're too busy giving
who
tickets
is
to
the
India
city's-
Walton.
This is my point,
It's
Nate.
like,
We
what
don't ask enough from our government.
Yeah.
I don't even know, who is the controller of the city,
I don't know.
right?
I
and
knew-
then we look at the
I don't-
controller of New York State. What are they doing? They've got all this money to invest. What are they doing, to help build more housing?
I mean,
or
they
other
they've
types of things?
in defense of the state, they have put billions of dollars into Buffalo, but it's all based on like weird silver bullet schemes instead of like practical solutions. Like maybe we need to like fix our streets. Like maybe we have to have proper snow removal. Things like this. They try to like, oh, we'll lure Tesla in. You saw that new press conference for Tesla, right? Oh my gosh. How many times are we going to say this is going to be the dream that's going to save Buffalo? And it
isn't going to happen. And their Dogo supercomputer was supposed to be built here.
Yep.
He just shut that down because he says we've got other chips that we can work with. But let me ask you this, and I know this is going to be controversial to you because you have a different opinion on it than I do.
Go ahead.
But
I love it.
let's say you had $1 billion to spend, and I don't even know they're going to get this, $1 billion to spend. Would we be better off having the streets in the city paved, having the traffic lights synchronized, having investments made in some neighborhoods that we want to be able to help turn around, or put a lid over part of the Kensington Expressway.
No, it's not controversial to me at all. The Kensington Expressway idea is stupid. The way it is stupid. If they're going to do it, revitalize the whole thing, like everyone's asking, and like make it. This is the thing. Buffalo keeps we talked about earlier. Why isn't there one restaurant downtown on the waterfront? You talked about waterfront property being so valuable. Well, if it was valuable, you'd think we'd have one restaurant on the waterfront. We don't have any. There's none.
I got to tell you the one. I got to
What?
tell you one thing we got. Here's
What?
what we got, and we got something that the Weather Channel loves.
What?
If you go down to Hamburg, they have Haux, right?
Yeah.
It's like right on the lake.
That's cool.
Now, Haux, because of its location, when there's a storm, it gets completely coated.
Right.
No one else does.
What a
right
cool.
there it does.
Did you ever eat there before?
I did.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Michelin.
Right.
It's okay. But what they do is the Weather Channel waits until we get some wind, some cold weather, and you get some dope leaves their car there in Hux parking lot, right?
It's over.
So the car is entirely coated.
Well, that's not even in Buffalo. It's in Hamburg.
But I got it. But that's the closest thing
I was saying to you, like I listened to the NPR station. They're like, come for like a walk into Buffalo and see our history. It's like going to the city of Buffalo. Sorry, I say this. Hate me for it. I'm a suburban white guy. God forbid. But it's my whole life. It's been like this. I never lived in the city of Buffalo. So it's like, go to the city of Buffalo. It's like homework. Like do your homework and go to the garden walk.
Well,
do your homework and go to the Oregon tour. It's like maybe you should just make a city that you actually want to go to. Go ahead.
Let me tell you, 40 years ago, a man came in to Buffalo. His name was Clement Chen.
Okay.
And he built what was known as the Buffalo Hilton Hotel.
Oh yeah, it was cool.
Where the Adams Mark is now. Okay.
It was happening once upon a time.
He built that. I remember. I ended up seeing, because I used to play the piano there, I ended up seeing Johnny Mathis. He was, staying there for something, and he was in the little coffee shop, and it was like a thrill to see the guy. And it was beautiful, beautiful waterfall. Played the piano there. It was a happening place.
Yep.
A lot of people were down there. A lot of events. It was happening, and it was beautiful. And he built it. Then we ended up having the Adams Mark, and then we had this crazy Canadian guy who owns it. I drove by there the other day, Nate. It is decrepit. It is falling down. It is a disgrace. Then I went, right around the corner, and I saw the PBS building, right? Channel 17.
Yep.
That. And I thought, oh my God, all these cars. Now, what's going to happen with the funding cuts? Is that going to be next?
I hope not, because I do think they do have a lot of private support. But I don't know. People aren't even listening to radio anymore. So I don't know.
What is wrong with the city where you've got this big, beautiful hotel thing, and
there is no city.
It's hideous. You go to the Hilton, and I'm sorry, not the I was going to say it's Statler Hilton, but you go to the Statler, which Jamal has done, and because of the inflation. The cost of materials has gone up, and with interest rates going up also, that project stalled. He needs $12 million from the state just to be able to continue what he's working on. And, stuff is just stalled. And like you said, I mean, the state is giving us money, but what is the plan? We're electing a new mayor. What is what actually it already happened because the primary. What is the plan for the city?
They should have put the Bill Stadium downtown. They didn't. They should have done the Signature Bridge. They didn't. They should have put the university downtown. They didn't. So I think we've already have our answer. There is no plan. There is. We really need to rethink what Buffalo is, and I've said it for years. Benchmark cities that are small and make it a nice look. Build on our natural strengths, which is the regional agriculture, the regional tourism to Niagara Falls and the international border, and downsize the city significantly, regionalize it, and make it like this. God forbid I say this, but like this is just again pulling it out of thin air, like a Portland, Maine. Well, we're not even Columbus at this point, okay? So
Columbus is pretty dynamic, actually.
Yeah. So let's revision what we are. And like, this isn't an insult. This is like, okay, things change. What's the best version of ourselves that we can be today? And I don't think that is, envision. So our counter argument is, well, Nate, it sounds like you're supporting sprawl, and I'm like, no. Our leadership has supported sprawl for 50 years. They moved the Buffalo Bills Stadium out. They moved University of Buffalo out. I didn't do those things, but I have to deal with this situation as it is right now because we're not going to build another Buffalo Bills Stadium. There is no industry downtown, none. So we're not going to, putting grocery stores down there and funding them with the city or tearing up, whole blocks and cementing it and making tourist traps that nobody goes to. This isn't working. So maybe we should try to find ways so the private sector can revitalize the city through ways that make sense for our region. And I don't think anyone wants to have that conversation because every time I have it, people scream at me because there's this ego thing about Buffalo as being a city that is, even like things like the Broadway market. Do you remember the Broadway market when you were young?
Yes, I do.
Let's talk about it. It was cool, right?
It was, I'll tell you what, Nate, that parking ramp was loaded.
Oh boy, really?
With cars. There was an incredible buzz. There were a ton of people there. When I was just a boy, it was that was sort of a place to be, especially during the Easter week. Right now, it's really degraded, and we really need to have, I think, a multi-ethnic market, a lot of square footage, a lot of different ethnicities where you can go down there and eat, an all-season type of thing. And I think that would be a draw. I think that would draw people downtown.
Maybe we should move it to somewhere else.
No kidding.
Yes, maybe stop pretending that it's 1951 and there's a population that's going to support the market living in that part of town because there isn't.
But I guess this is the knock on Buffalo, is that it is not a progressive place.
No.
There are things that are worth preserving. And what we end up doing is putting all of our money toward the past that we're trying to preserve, which wasn't necessarily that great.
Right.
And we're not putting a lot of resources toward thinking ahead and creating new venues for people to congregate, for people to publicize, and to act as a draw for the area. Understand this, if you have a metro area in excess of 1 million people, which we've got here,
yep,
there ought to be things we can put down in the city, which would be draws for the 1 million people around here, not the whatever it is, 250 or 300,000 people in the city, but for all the area to be able to come down. Why? Because that's the only place I can get that.
Well, whether we like it or not, I can go in my car right now and go to Transit Road and barely be able to move. I can go to Niagara Falls Boulevard and barely be able to move. There are places that are buzzing in this region. They are not the city of Buffalo. Right. Now, we have to have a deep discussion about why that is. Or I can go out to Southwestern Boulevard near the Bill Stadium and see some development. There isn't development in the city of Buffalo, and there hasn't been for a long, long time. And I love it, the city, as much as everybody else. But we have a huge natural wonder. We have regional. Like, again, we have the GDP of the region is like $100 billion. That's a lot of money. That's more than the GDP of like a lot of major cities in Europe. But like, why is the standard of living so low? Why for so many people? And it's because there's no regional vision. And I don't know if the new mayor or anybody else is going to have this discussion because everyone that lives here that's in a leadership position seems so vested in the current system because that system has served them, but it's not serving all of us. Hey, listen, I got to go. Anything to say before we go?
No, I think that's a great way to. I think that's a great way to end. It's a great way to summarize it. And the city also is handicapped because it has a lot of property, which is not on the tax rolls because it's tax exempt.
Right.
And you don't have that in a lot of towns and other areas because most of their land, is zoned commercial. They've got businesses, they're paying taxes, etc. So there are natural hindrances, to the city being able to pull itself by its bootstraps. But I guess, the bottom line is and we've talked about this before. We need a vision for what a better future looks like for our community, and I don't think anyone's articulated that yet. So hopefully,
Well, we're kind of getting there on this podcast. I got I got a Buffalo Legend here, little Goo Goo Dolls playing, by the way.
All right.
Don't want